Okay, gang, really quick before we jump into the video. You may or may not know that I left academia a few years back for broadcasting, but teaching the next generation has and always will be on my heart. I've been broadcasting now through 3 election cycles, and I'm just sick at what the elites have done to our education system. So I decided to step up. My team and I have been working on this for well over a year now. I started a school, and I have absolutely massive plans to take it nationwide. The Worldview Institute of Entrepreneurship and Apprenticeship opens its first location in Lancaster, Pennsylvania on April 9th, and I want to invite you to the ribbon cutting. And I've built a whole amazing event around it, so I want you to come and join me at the Kingdom Builders Experience, April 9th through 11th. You'll get an exclusive invite to the school's ribbon cutting. You'll be invited to a special Scotch and Cigars meetup with yours truly. I'll be lecturing at the school, plus we're hosting a Business Makers Summit where education meets opportunity. Now, seats are limited. Click the link below to learn more, and I can't wait to see you there.
Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, coming to you from beautiful Texas University in Austin. I'm here for the Natalism Conference, and it's been wonderful. This is my second time in Austin. If you've never been here before, it's a young, bustling, vibrant city that's attracted the likes of Elon Musk and Joe Rogan. It's just been a really, really neat stay thus far, but I am particularly interested in some elections that are happening in other states such as Wisconsin, Florida, and what happened earlier this week in Pennsylvania. So let's start with Wisconsin. The race for the state Supreme Court is in full swing. The election day is this Tuesday, and we are seeing the Republican Brad Schimmel trying to defeat this radical left-wing Democrat. Were she to win, would most likely redraw the congressional districts, gerrymander them in Wisconsin, and we would end up losing 2 seats. So the stakes on this election are pretty high. And what we were looking at earlier this week was Brad Schimmel doing very well. The electorate in Wisconsin has shifted 8 points to the right since their last state Supreme Court election. By the way, that is, I'm just coming across here, let me change this. That is the tower, the Texas University Tower. I don't know if you guys remember, I don't know why I know I'm a bit of a history buff, but that was the site of the worst public killings in American history in the 1960s. I forget the fellow who went up there and started shooting people randomly. So the electorate has shifted about 8 points to the right for Schimmel. Awesome stuff, absolutely, especially after Wisconsin just voted for Trump. The problem is that it's not enough. Their last election for the state Supreme Court in 2023, the Democrat absolutely destroyed the Republican by 11 points, by double digits. So even if the electorate shifted 8 points to the right, that would still mean that Brad Schimmel would lose by 3 points. So what we've been looking for is to see if the early voting, both mail-in and in-person early voting, would suggest trends that closes that gap even more. And I'm very happy to report that is the case. It looks like Schimmel's closed the gap to within about 2, maybe 1 points. The shift is around 9, perhaps 10 points to the right. The red counties are coming out en masse, whereas the blue counties they've started to significantly underperform. We're talking like Dane and Milwaukee. So this is really good news for Brad Schimmel, and we'll just have to see. Again, the strategy here is exactly what Scott Pressler and Cliff Maloney were employing in Pennsylvania, which is you have to minimize the Democrats' margin of early vote advantage. They have been killing us by amassing this extraordinary margin of early vote advantage, and then we just can't overcome it on election day. And so what we're seeing is an all-out effort in Wisconsin to minimize that advantage so that on election day, when that Republicans traditionally dominate, we can take them out. So good news in Wisconsin. Again, it's still a bit of an uphill battle. It's going to be very hard to overcome that 11-point deficit from 2023, but we are doing very well there. Now, switching over to Florida Congressional District 6, this is Mike Waltz's open seat. It's a very Republican, very deep red district, and yet it's very close. The margin here is razor thin with the Democrat. And the reason why this is getting people very nervous is because of what happened this week in Pennsylvania. So if you weren't following, Pennsylvania had their own state Supreme Court election in District 36. So this is northern Lancaster County. It voted for Trump by 15 points. It is, in terms of registration, I believe, a Republican plus 20 district. The Democrat won. The Democrat won by about 300 votes. And so people were flipping out a little bit, going, what the heck happened? Well, it's actually relatively easy to see what happened. The GOP didn't show up when all said and done. About 70% of registered Republicans simply did not show up to vote. And so, as a result, the Democrat ended up winning. Now, you might ask why. What's going on here?
But first, as you know, the world is more uncertain than ever. And the way we understand it really does depend on the news we consume on a daily basis, with competing agendas, algorithm-driven echo chambers, and hidden biases shaping our perception. It's crucial to have the right tools to cut through all the noise. That's why I rely on Ground News. It's a website and app that gathers stories from over 50,000 news sources worldwide, letting you compare coverage across the political spectrum and highlighting stories one side might be ignoring. See for yourself at ground.news/Steve. My favorite feature of Ground News is the blind spot feed. It shows you stories that are disproportionately reported by either the left or the right. I find it really helpful for gaining a balanced perspective in our hyper-polarized world. So, for example, here's a recent story that has almost no coverage on the right. Voters flood town halls with fears of Social Security cuts, putting heat on GOP over Musk and Doge. And here's a story that mostly got ignored by left-leaning outlets. Gabbard pledges to aggressively pursue leaks from U.S. intelligence agencies. Now, for both of these and for every story, Ground News gives you a breakdown of the sources covering it, the bias of the media outlets reporting across the left, center, and right, how reliable these sources have been in the past, and who owns them. So this is the kind of news analysis you won't find anywhere else. Right now, my viewers can get 40% off the Unlimited Access Vantage plan. That's the same one I use. Make sure to subscribe using my link at ground.news/Steve. Click the link in the description below or scan the QR code on the screen when signing up. That's ground.news/Steve.
Why didn't the Republicans show up to vote? There is a phenomenon known as a refractory period. We've actually talked about this a few years back during Trump's first term. A refractory period is a period of time where the momentum that gave a party tremendous victory, in this case it would be a White House victory, just dissipates. It kind of exhausts itself. So this is why 9 times out of 10, the party that won the White House ends up losing the midterms. It's because of this thing called a refractory period. And it's basic social exhaustion. It takes so much energy, so much money, so much time, so much effort to win a presidential race that once you do, all the enthusiasm basically dissipates. People more or less go back to their they go back to their regularly scheduled lives, as it were. And so the money begins to dry up, the enthusiasm begins to dry up, the energy, the drive, and the churn, and so on. So it seems like we saw something like that happening in Pennsylvania. It doesn't make it any better given the fact that Pennsylvania's Republican Party is a hot mess. They are rhinos par excellence, and the gap between the party's elite, its leadership, and its consultant class that makes millions on how to lose, the gap between them and the rank and file Republican voter in Pennsylvania simply could not be wider. So that's what's going on in Pennsylvania. Now, again, the good news is that Florida Congressional District 6 looks like it's going to be an easy win. Looks like, okay? So right now, the early voting, mail-in, in-person early voting is about Republican +6. And then on election day, it should be Republican +10. So this should be a win. It's just closer than it ought to be. And again, it just comes down to the fact that the gap between the Republican leadership and the Democrat and the Republican rank and file just seems to be getting wider and wider. Remember, it's Trump who has the coalition, not the Republican Party. Trump has the coalition, not the Republican Party. The Republican Party can make Trump's coalition their own, but that's going to take a lot of work. They are going to have to dump the rhinos, the Mitch McConnells, the Lindsey Grahams, and the like. They're going to have to just walk away from that kind of stuff, to use Brandon Strzok's organizational metaphor there. They're going to have to walk away from that and start embracing a full-blown MAGA, America First nationalist populism. And that's when they're going to start to see the gap between their voters. Got something on my shoe. That's when they're going to see the gap between their voters and their candidates disappear. You know, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit, has long been saying New Jersey's ripe for flipping. Trump came within 5 points of winning Jersey. Jersey is ripe for flipping. The working class revolt against the Democrats, both white and non-white, as well as the extraordinary defection among, let me see, where should I go, among younger voters. Maybe I'll go up here. The extraordinary defection among younger voters is unraveling the Democrat coalition. There's absolutely nothing that they can do to win races anymore without the white, non-white, working class, Latino voters, and the youth vote. So with that, you have to wonder, why are they defecting? Are they defecting over the Republican Party because they're attracted to Mitch McConnell? Are they defecting over the Republican Party because they are wowed by Lindsey Graham? No. They're defecting over the Republican Party because of Trump. They're defecting over the Republican Party precisely because of the guy who is taking a blowtorch to the establishment right now. And that's what they expect from all of the Republicans' candidates. And if all they're getting is just milquetoast George Bushism, forget it. You're not going to flip New Jersey. And in fact, if anything, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, they're just going to retrograde. They're just going to go back to voting Democrat, go back to the old habits. So when all's said and done, I do think this is a bit of a learning time for the Republican Party. They are going to have to adjust and align themselves fully to MAGA and to Trump. And certainly Pennsylvania is going to have to figure out how to get a get out the vote campaign where a Republican +15, +20 district gets out enough of the vote to just simply put the Republican over the finish line. This is just it's an indicator of just how dysfunctional the Republican Party in Pennsylvania is. Wisconsin's looking great. Again, it's hard. It's a very, very big gap to bridge, an 11-point gap from 2023. But they're doing it. They're doing a really good job. And then Florida District 6, that should be, that looks like that's a wrap. It looks like that's going to be a relatively easy Republican win. But when all's said and done, until the Republicans learn their lesson, they're going to continue to struggle at the congressional and state level. And that struggle is going to be made all the more difficult in this refractory period. God bless, gang.
You may or may not know that I left academia a few years back for broadcasting. but teaching the next generation has and always will be on my heart. I've been broadcasting now through 3 election cycles, and I'm just sick at what the elites have done to our education system. So I decided to step up. My team and I have been working on this for well over a year now. I started a school, and I have absolutely massive plans to take it nationwide. The Worldview Institute of Entrepreneurship and Apprenticeship opens its first location in Lancaster, Pennsylvania on April 9th, and I want to invite you to the ribbon cutting. And I've built a whole amazing event around it, so I want you to come and join me at the Kingdom Builders Experience, April 9th through 11th. You'll get an exclusive invite to the school's ribbon cutting. You'll be invited to a special Scotch and Cigars meetup with yours truly. I'll be lecturing at the school, plus we're hosting a Business Makers Summit where education meets opportunity. Now, seats are limited. Click the link below to learn more, and I can't wait to see you there.